This hearing will come to order, and I want to welcome everybody to VA committee room to talk about the 2014 budget request for the Department of Veterans Affairs. As everybody already knows, this budget is a couple of months late. Comes after the House and Senate have both passed their respective budget resolutions, and I would just say that unfortunately it's a little late to influence the House and the Senate budgets that have already been passed, but I'm sure that we have appropriations and authorization work that is ahead of us, and so our oversight on this request is still very, very important. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here. Welcome. As you know, committee members, and this is not on you, but committee members have had less than 24 hours to review some of the details associated with the budget request in advance of this hearing. It's likely, therefore, that we will have follow-up questions after we've had a chance to look a little bit closer at the details. I appreciate your attendance today and ask for your cooperation in getting timely answers to the committee so that we can move forward. My initial reaction to the budget is mixed. On the one hand, we see a proposed 4.3% increase in discretionary spending amidst what most would say is a stagnant or declining budget request for other agencies, most which have, unlike VA, had to absorb sequester cuts, and that demonstrates that VA funding is clearly a priority in a very tight fiscal climate. On the other hand, I'm concerned that we're not really seeing the results for the money that Congress has provided to VA over the last years. For example, the budget proposes a 7.2% increase for expanding mental health services. I'm still waiting, Mr. Secretary, for information from VA showing that veterans with mental illnesses are in fact getting healthier with the resources that we've provided. After all, I know that that's an outcome that you and this entire committee are both after. Dr. Petzel, I asked that question of you at our mental health hearing 2 months ago, and we are still awaiting a response. So would ask if you would help us in getting an answer to some questions. Then we get into the funding request for the Veterans Benefits Administration, which is a 13.4% increase over the current year. But I'm at a loss because we are seeing performance that doesn't match the dollars that have been put forward. Despite already high record investments in technology, record numbers of employees available to process claims, the situation is worse today than it ever has been before. When last year's budget was released, VA issued a press release saying that with the funding provided, and I quote, by 2013, no more than 40% of compensation and pension claims will be more than 125 days old. Here we are today, and we have 70% of claims out there that are older than 125 days. And the same is true for prior budget requests. What many of us would say are lofty promises, excitement about new initiatives and technology, but lackluster at best results, and we don't have what this committee would contend was a positive trend. VA has missed its own performance goal every single year, and I think most committee members here are really very tired of the excuses that we keep hearing from those that come before us to testify. Look, I understand that more claims are being filed and that those claims are complex, but that's been true for decades. We all know that. The workload created because of good decisions that you made for Agent Orange veterans, Mr. Secretary, Congress provided resources for an IT solution that you requested to help with that effort. And by establishing presumptions for combat post-traumatic stress and Gulf War illness, those claims, most of which would have been filed anyway, should have been easier to process, not cited as a contributing cause of the perennial failure As for technology improvements, I know many are pinning their hopes on the VBMS system, which we've already spent close to $500 million on. We've already had reports of VBMS problems from VA's Inspector General. We also have reports of the system crashing just this week because all raters were caused at that point to temporarily transition back to their old computer system. But what's worse, I've looked at the backlog numbers for the regional offices where VBMS went live at the end of last year, 2012, and 14 of the 18 offices have a higher percentage of backlogged cases now than when VBMS came online. The other 4 have seen marginal improvement, but it's nowhere close to what it needs to be if we're going to meet the goal of 2015 that you have established. I have been outspoken, as you know, in my efforts to protect VA funding, and we've worked for over a year to ensure that VA was, in fact, exempt from sequester. I've introduced a bill, along with the ranking member, to advance fund all of VA's budget to protect it from the effects of continuing resolutions or threatened government shutdowns. I'm proud of the efforts that this committee has made to protect the resources that are important to VA, but the point of those efforts is to ensure improved benefits and services to the veterans of this country. And right now, I am not seeing the improvement that I think most of us want to see in many key areas. I'm seeing the opposite. And, Mr. Secretary, I continue to say we have got to see results, and I'm sure you want the same thing. We need to see the outcomes the administration has promised with the resources that Congress has provided. No more excuses. I have supported you and your leadership up to this point. I believe that this committee and the Congress has provided you with everything that you've asked for, and it's time to deliver. So with that, Mr. Secretary, I will yield to the ranking member, Mr. Michaud, for his opening statement.